Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings used this room quite a bit for writing in. And
in the wintertime, she liked to set up in this corner behind you with her portable typewriter from the front porch near the fireplace because it's very hard to warm up these rooms when it's cold.
yes. And what are some of her best-known writings?
Well, The Yearling, of course, won her the Pulitzer Prize in 1939. It was published in 1938.
So a number of movies were created from her novels. What are some of the best known?
The best known would have been The Yearling, starring Gregory Peck and Jane Wyman, and that came out in 1945, just after World War II ended. Cross Creek movie was produced in 1983, and that starred Mary Steenburgen as Marjorie Rawlings. And it is still very popular with our visitors.
So one of her most popular novels was Cross Creek.
Yes, and that was also made into a movie.
And that's about this community that she had fallen in love with.
Yes, and it chronicles her day-to-day life here and her observations of nature.
And she had quite a nice garden, didn't she?
Yes, she had to have one because you couldn't just run out to the store to buy your vegetables. You had to grow your own, so she kept an ongoing garden behind the house.
Now, during the warmer months, which is most of the time here in Florida, where did she do her writing?
On the front porch, on the homemade table there. She liked to be able to watch the redbirds come to her bird bath in the front yard under the crepe myrtle tree that's in bloom today. And she would hopefully get some breezes out there while she was working during the long, hot summers. I'd like to show you Miss Rawlings' books in the next room.
That would be great. So this is the book room, and I see some beautiful first editions. This is quite a collection.
Yes, it is. Now, on the middle shelf, in chronological order from left to right, are all the books Miss Rawlings wrote out there on the front porch. And you can see that The Yearling is in the middle of the lineup, that she continued to write a number of books after her success with that. I love that edition that's on display here because it's illustrated by the artist N.C. Wyeth, and it's the last book he illustrated before his death. So she was very fortunate to have him do the artwork for the second edition. He would stay here as a guest of Mrs. Rawlings's for a number of weeks while he worked on those sketches. This was such a tender story that he had to bring his usual vibrance down a little. So he even used, instead of using his normal oils, he went to gouache and tempera for these. So it's a softer image.
Were there many visitors here?
Once Mrs. Rawlings became famous, she would have a lot of interesting visitors come to this house, and this is the guest room where they would have stayed. Those guests would have included Robert Frost, the poet, Margaret Mitchell of Gone with the Wind fame. They had a lot in common, both Southern women writers. Thornton Wilder, A.J. Cronin stayed here. I think my favorite would have been N.C. Wyeth and, of course, Gregory Peck, who stayed during the filming of The Yearling. Even Wendell Willkie came through here while he was campaigning for president. And at this point in time, Miss Rawlings has gotten to know Eleanor Roosevelt, and she's invited to stay as a guest of Mrs. Roosevelt in the White House, where she stays in the Lincoln bedroom. And so she's definitely become somewhat of a celebrity.
So this is the dining room, and I understand that she was a wonderful cook.
Yeah, she wrote a cookbook called Cross Creek Cookery, and it has a lot of the old-timey Southern variety recipes in it for collard greens and cornbread and things like that, but it also has fancier things like seafood Newburgh. But so when she had company, she loved to entertain with lavish food. She even served a different wine with each course, and sometimes as many as 6 courses. So you better bring an overnight bag. One of her neighbors called her Miss Uppity because she served fried catfish on Wedgwood china.
Well, it sounds like she brought a lot of elegance to the community.
Yeah, nobody would have had Wedgwood china to serve their catfish on.
I'd love to see the kitchen.
Okay, let's go in there.
Marjorie was quite a woodsman, and I'm wondering what she brought home for dinner.
Bear steak, venison, quail, turkey, wild boar, and then of course all the fishing and the going for frog's legs from the lake, crabs from the springs, blackbird pie.
Sounds great. And she cooked on this stove?
Yes, and it's mighty hot in the summertime, as you can well imagine. That's why there are so many windows in this particular room, to let the heat out from the wood stove. And here's the ice box away from the heat of the wood stove, out on the back porch. It's a very large capacity one. Ice was delivered here twice a week.
Where did the ice come from? What big city had
A little
ice?
town called Hawthorne, north of here by about 14 miles. And it was brought out in big 400-pound blocks, and then they would chisel off what each household wanted.
A custom fit.
Right.
That's neat.
And so when she put in the bathroom, that's when she got the water?
Trick question.
Sorry.